How's it going, everybody? We don't do a lot of broadcasts, but we figured we'd try a few here and there and see what kind of response we've gotten. So in this video, what we're going to talk about is the Acumatica modern user interface. So let's jump in. There's an agenda I have prepared. And it's essentially just to go through some of the changes that you're going to expect. Just to get back down to basics, this is Acumatica 2024 R2. It's a beta. The Acumatica 2024 R2 is to be released, I think, in a few weeks or so, generally early October. The new modern interface will not be available for production. You're going to see a message come up here at the top of the screen that essentially shows that sorry, I got a warning. Essentially shows that you shouldn't use this for production. So you're going to get this message all the time, and you're not going to want to use it yet. Having said that, it will be available to everybody to test out. You can test it out on certain screens. And you can play around with it. And then it is scheduled to be released in 2025 R1. And at the end of this video, I'll show you how to turn it on for your instance, for a demo instance or something like that you'd like to turn it on for. Okay. So the first thing we're going to look at is profile screens. So let's say, for example, let me move this out of the way. Let's say, for example, we bring up a new sales order. And by the way, you could see the menuing and the pop-ups, the workspaces. Those are all consistent. They haven't changed. Whether they change or not, I don't know. But those certainly are all the same. So if I go into, for example, a new sales order, which is causing an issue for me right now. Let's see, new. Oh. Let me go back. And let me try and open up one. Okay. So if we open up a new sales order, what I missed here is a new preference, and that is the ability to hide the header screen. Now, ordinarily in the classic user interface, the one we're all used to, this is there as well. However, it doesn't remember. I just realized that now. It doesn't remember that you leave it that way. So when I open this up, this is a very suppressed version of the header where you're just seeing all the tabs and the information below. So let's jump in. The first thing you can see here is it's a much more clean view. You notice we have color. We have color here in this panel. Which should be configurable. We have color on the status. We started to see that in some screens over the years in the classic UI. But the other thing about this design is it's responsive. So, for example, if I bring up my mobile screen, so let me do that. You can see right here, here's an example of a sales order. You could never look at it this way before. You could never see everything all in a responsive design where the fields wrap around each other. So now we have one column that's nice and clean, and we just need to scroll down. With the previous interface, you would have to try to use your finger to move on your mobile device and drag to another part of the web browser to the screen, and you try to move around and you couldn't really see anything. And now it's much more convenient in one single screen. Should we collapse this, once again, you can see just, if I refresh, that page was open for a while. You can see down below, you have your details and your taxes. And if I suppress here, it looks like the suppress is not, looks like the suppress isn't working. Again, this is all beta, so it's not designed for production. But what the idea here is you'll suppress that and you'll be able to get all these tabs here and get more information on the screen, more line items. Okay. So that's that. You'll also notice that everything is a lot faster. You know, going through these tabs, the design behind, or the rationale behind the new UI was to redesign it for more server-side caching. I'm getting that right. So in the future, it'll perform a lot faster. You'll notice that we have our buttons up here. You'll also notice that this was compressed. Instead of a tools and a configuration menu, you now just have this one menu. And the big thing here in the profile is my ability to configure the screen. So if I select that option here, you can see the banner at the top is showing me that I'm in a configuration screen. You notice there's a copy paste option. That'll help if I want to maybe export my configuration for maybe somebody else's site. But you'll also notice the gears at each segment of the user interface. And you notice there's a gear below. We'll get to that in a second. But let's say, for example, for my untitled area, I want to add a field. And better yet, I have the employees profile up here. Let's do it there. We'll go to cancel. We'll go back. We'll go screen configuration. So here's my employees profile screen. And I have this employee up here. And let's say I need to add maybe, you know, this particular employee department. And I'd like to see it up here. I can click on the gear button here. And I could search for the field department. And I can drag and drop it. Notice the grip here allows me to move things around. So additionally, I could put it at the top. I can hit apply. And now I have the department at the top and employee class below. I can apply to all. And there's an option here. Essentially, individual users can have their own personal configuration. So this is a preference whether or not we're overriding that or we're maintaining it. But I'm going to click override. And now you have that screen, it's live. And as I scroll through different employees, you can see that I can now have the department here at the top. Now, if I want to, I can go back and I can go to screen configuration and I could, you know, again, edit it again, or I can reset to default. Maybe I made a few mistakes and I can apply again and go back to default. Now, the other thing you can do, if we go back into it, is we have the ability, I selected the wrong thing. We have the ability to manage our tabs as well. So again, you could manage all your fields on every tab, not on the grid tab. It looks like we could add default columns there. But if we're looking at, for example, these are all grid types. So if we go to user info, yeah, so all of these different tabs, we can go in and add different columns to it if we want to. But going back, if I click on this gear, I have the ability to remove tabs that I don't want to see all the time. Maybe I don't want to see, for example, history. And I don't need attributes. I don't have any attributes configured. When I click apply here, notice they're gone. But additionally, I can also move things around. So let's say I do want to see history and attributes, but I'm in field service and I want to see my skills tab at the top and maybe my service area is also at the top. So you can move these tabs around now. click apply, and if we put it back into regular mode, you can see that now these skills and service areas are at the top of our different tabs. So really cool stuff there, the ability to configure the screen. I suspect that we'll be able to do more and more things as time goes on. This is just the beginning. So that's the configure screen and what the profile looks like. 1 second here. Make sure I have my... there it is. So now let's go into the generic inquiry. So we'll go back to sales orders, take a look at that. And you can see, once again, here's that screen that gives you the warning that this is not intended for production use. You notice that we have our side panels on the side. That's still there. The side panels will bring up the new UI if that screen is configured. Again, we'll show that soon. But you have all of these different side panels. You have the ability to minimize that just like before. But the screens are different. The filters are different. Yes, I can still search for any order number I'm looking for, type a few numbers, and you can see it found it. And it filtered it. But you also have the filters that are a little different here. So I have the ability to go in and say, maybe I only want order type SO. So I'll click on that. That's very consistent with the classic UI. But the difference is now I can save this filter and it looks a little different. So if I want to say SO type orders only, once again, share it, make it my default. But now I have the ability to see my filters here. So I just added it to this group box. And the thought process here is I may have a ton of different filters at the top. And we've all, if you've created any number of filters, you've seen that, across the board, they start to get a little out of control and you see them all the way across. And then there's a little symbol here that you can click and you can go all the way down and then you have a vertical view. But instead, now you have them all in this view and you could search for them. Now, if I wanted to modify this filter, let's say I wanted to maybe change this to a different order type. I can do that. I'll pick up something I know that exists, and I'll click apply. And now I have my RMA orders, and that's, of course, different than this. But if I wanted to override it, I can click the Save Filter. But if I wanted to create a new filter, I can click Save As. So now I have my RM type orders. Click the Save button. And now when you look, you can see we have RM and SO. So you have a couple here. So the other thing you could do is we have an advanced filter. So this is a visual view. It allows you to go through and you can see the different operators and you can click on them and change them. You can add additional things to this. So right now my customer status and date are blank, but certainly you can click on that. And for the purposes of space, status maybe I only want open. So I'll unselect everything, click open, hit apply. And maybe I have a date range. So I can click on that and give it a date range. Of course, you click this button and you have these dynamic fields so that you can say, for example, within the last 30 days or within the last 3 months, you can use these as an operator and then put a minus sign or a plus sign with a number of days. But that's consistent with before. If we go back, and I'll remove this filter, we can also do customers. And again, you can add additional fields here at the bottom that you'd like to add. But if I click apply here, so now I have just RMA orders that are open. And once again, I can say save as and say open RMAs or pending RMAs. I'll click save button. Okay. So that the inquiry screens have been changed. Of course, if you click here, you can see you can still do the column filters. They do look and feel different. The column configurator is also different. You can move things around like this. You can turn things off if you want to. However, I've been told, it's not confirmed, but I've been told that they're going to go back to the original column configurator because the ability to select a bunch of columns and maybe make them disappear. For example, in the old UI, we had the ability to maybe select, maybe in a sales order, I have a ton of different columns. And, they're just not something I need my people to see. Well, you could select, you could just kind of start from the top and then hit the shift button and select something really below. You're selecting a bunch of columns, and then you can move the key. You can hit the key button to slide them over to don't show. And that's something that's missing. So I'm told that because that's easier, they may go back to that. But right now, this is in the beta. And again, I can remove certain things if I want to. Click OK, and you'll have your changes. Okay. The other thing that's new, and this represents the potential for Acumatica and its new interface, as to the kinds of things that can be done. Right now, there are limitations. And the reason for the limitations is because Acumatica wants to make sure that the existing screens are compatible with the transition, so that it's easier to get the new UI, build the functionality in, but not change too many things around, so that they can release a stable version that's consistent with the way it currently is designed and laid out and looks. But the other thing is existing customizations. So right now, the plan is to rewrite screens the way they are, but there are exceptions. And the one exception is the calendar board. So the calendar board has undergone a lot of changes with this new UI. And there's a few things you can see, again, in addition to the great view. The first thing you see is we have two panels. We also have a third panel. So this gives you the ability to see the map. And as I click through here, it'll show me where that item is. I can use my scroll wheel and zoom out if I want to. I know it's in here. I have the ability to select a bunch of people. Yeah, here it is. I can select all of my field service personnel and see where they are, right? And then where their appointments are. So that's nice. You'll be able to see that in a nice view. So the goal here is a nice tri view that gives you a lot of information on the same screen. If I minimize or collapse my workspace, I get even more space. Now you have the ability, as of before, what we're looking at here is all of my staff members, filtered staff members. So I created a filter just like we showed before. And you have the ability to show your staff members, and then if you want to, look at their availability. And, we're looking at a day view, but I could scroll up and look at the 17th. And everybody has, if we click on this, everybody has a very quick appointment. But you can see also that I have the ability to drag and make this bigger simply by increasing the width of it. So now this person's going to be working from 10 to 2. So ease of use there is nice. If I go back to this view, I also have the ability to make a new appointment just by dragging and dropping, or starting from my start time to my finish time, and then putting in information, and that'll show up there. So, for example, if I wanted to, I can pick up a customer, maybe a school. not that school, because I already have that school there. I'll pick another school. And I can give it a description. So this is deliver goods. And we'll click create appointment. It still brings up the traditional appointment screen to save. But I can hit the save and close button. And when I go back, after it refreshes, you'll see that new appointment in there, and I'll hit the refresh button myself. And now you can see it there. So again, you could move things around. Like I could say, no, I want Peter to do this appointment, which is nice. This also has the ability to configure. So I can go in here and I can go to screen configuration. And there's certain things you can do here. For example, I can click on my left and say, well, right now you're showing my appointment number and my customer name. But I want to add, for example, maybe the description. And we can click apply on this. And I notice it's bigger. So now I'm assuming that when we refresh, it'll add the description. Additionally, you can change here and add and subtract different tabs. So you have the ability to do also configure this screen. Of course, if you're familiar with it, you know that you can configure this, the colors and everything in a calendar preferences screen as well. So let's talk about how we enable it. So if you want to enable the screen, you can do so by adding this. You need to add this switch to your web.config file. So the file is web.config. This is for people who host their own sites. You need to host your own site and be able to get to this file. This file is located at the root of the site that you've installed, the Acumatica site that you've installed. Once you open it up, you would add this key, and you'll see where you add all the keys. You just put it in on its own line and save it. Make sure you make a backup of your web config file first. Very important. Because if you mess something up, if you accidentally hit the delete key, if an animal steps on your keyboard or something like that, it's really hard to find that needle in the haystack and figure out what's wrong with it. And you will not allow the site won't function. So make sure that you copy this file. When you hit the save button after you've made this change, this will reboot the site. So, assumingly you're doing this on a demonstration site or a test site anyway. But if you're doing it on a live site, make sure you do it after hours so that you don't knock anybody out. And again, not recommended to do on a live site. And if you do it on a live site, make sure that you only turn on certain screens. And that's what I'm going to show you now. So once you've done that and you've added that screen and the site comes up, it reboots. It takes a couple of minutes to come back up and everything. Under sitemap, you can see here every sitemap listing. So what is the sitemap? The sitemap is everything. So we're looking at journal transactions. If I click show all, journal transactions, journal vouchers, trial balance. Every single screen in Acumatica, the potential for every screen is in the sitemap. And when you're looking at it, the structure is as follows. It's got a screen ID. You can see that screen ID is here. It has a URL, and you could see that here. And it's got a page file, and that's right here. And a title, and also you can define in the sitemap. This is useful if you want to add something like we're looking at production orders. If we wanted to add production orders to, for example, another area in the software. So right now, Work Center Schedule is under Production Orders Inquiry. But maybe we want it also in the Financial tab. Who knows? You can add the same sitemap listing and just add another workspace. You can also do it through the UI just by clicking the Edit menu and adding it too. But the big change here, once you put that switch on, is this checkbox right here. This little box or this field allows you to go from classic to modern. And there's also these buttons here. They came out, I think, in the latest beta or in the latest, this 2024 R2, the ability to switch everything. So I can switch everything back to classic, I can switch everything back to modern, or I can cherry pick the screens that I want to test or turn on. So right now, for example, if we go into our RMA order, we're looking at the modern UI. But if I go back to the sitemap and I go to sales orders and I look for it, so you're looking for just the regular screen, the transaction screen. So that's here, sales orders, transactions. Notice this one is in sales orders and opportunities and support. So it's in different workspaces because it was added that way. You can't, oh, I guess you can add it here too. You can check it. I didn't know there was a multi-select here. As I said before, you can click edit, go into the workspace you want and add the screen. But anyway, if I change this to classic and hit the save button, and then I go back, and this should be enough, I think, to click on an order and open it up again. So if I click on this, now you can see the original, again, the original UI. And as I said before, I just want to show the difference. I want to show the difference of how this looks. If I go in and bring up my mobile screen again, I got to unlock. And I'll refresh. It's still on the new UI, so let me go back and let me open up a sales order. This is what it looked like before, or this is what it looks like today when you try and open it up on a mobile device. Again, very, very difficult to navigate. You can't really see things. It tries to do responsive, but you lose things here. You can't do lookups. Lookups are really, really difficult. If you try to, this is a open order, but if I try to hit the plus button here and tab across and type, the lookups are really tough. With the new UI, that's all been fixed. The question is in the chat window, what version is this on? Well, it was in 2024 R1. We are using 2024 R2. And specifically, if I go back, also notice the changes with the menus here, customization and tools, it's all merged. But if you want to know the version I'm on the .200. But I have no reason to believe that .193 under builds doesn't also have this. It does. It has these settings. What I don't know, Acumatica doesn't give us a changelog, and the new UI is being done as essentially an exercise to replace all the screens to get them onto the new UI. So if they make progress on some screens, if we go back to the sitemap and we take my filter off and we filter by classic, you will see there are a number of screens that haven't been created yet. That's because the file's missing. If I try to change it to modern and I tab away, I get an error message that, wait a sec, that file doesn't exist. So Acumatica hasn't worked on these files. The point is that if you, when there's a new version, 193 to 200, Acumatica doesn't exactly, at least not in the content that I see, show us, okay, well, production ticket and production ticket with barcode, these are reports anyway, but these 5 screens have been changed. So we don't know what the differences are. and what new functionality has come out. We'll know as we discover things together. We'll know. Certainly, you guys would love to see comments that you guys have, and we'll all learn this stuff together. And then when it comes out and we're going to be able to use it, 2025 R1 will be able to use it. It won't be forced, so that you'll be optionally allowed to turn it on, and it won't have the production message on it. And then I believe, if I'm correct in this, and again, Acumatica could change, but I believe that 2026 R1 will then be permanent, the new modern UI, because now they've gone through the ability to completely have a year of people trying it, migrating over to it, and they'll be able to squeak out the bugs and even add new functionality, which will make it even more worth switching to it. So that's what I had planned for today. I know that this is a last minute, very much a last minute broadcast. I only announced it a couple of days ago. But if you guys have any questions before I sign off, or if you want to know anything new in 2024 R2, I can certainly go to those screens, but I'll just give it a minute. But again, there's not a lot of people online live right now to go through it. We have surpassed 2,000 subscribers, so we're super excited about that. And we really appreciate the support as to this YouTube channel. It's what drives us. It's what keeps us going and wanting to create new content, as you guys out there helping out. You guys put some wonderful comments against all the videos that we release, so that's great. Okay, well, I'm going to sign out. And again, if anybody has any questions, please leave them in the comments section. And if there's anything new that you want to see, also really appreciate it. Thanks again for watching, and everybody have a great day.